Hi everyone, welcome back to Lab Project. In today's video, we're going to look at the very easy production of acetylene gas. This video is for educational and scientific purposes only. The goal is to explain the chemical principles behind gas generation and gas solubility, not to encourage unsafe or uncontrolled experiments. Acetylene is a simple hydrocarbon with the formula C2H2. It can be produced through a well-known reaction between calcium carbide and water. When calcium carbide comes into contact with water, a chemical reaction takes place that generates acetylene gas and calcium hydroxide as a byproduct. The acetylene produced is a highly flammable gas, which is why all steps must be carried out with extreme caution, proper ventilation, and appropriate laboratory equipment. Instead of collecting the gas directly, in this setup, the acetylene is passed through acetone. Acetone is interesting because acetylene is highly soluble in it. This property is actually exploited industrially, where acetylene is often stored dissolved in acetone rather than as a free compressed gas. Now let's begin with the production. First of all, I placed a 3-neck round-bottom flask on a support stand using a clamp. I then inserted a stopper into one of the side necks since it wasn't useful for this experiment. Next, I took my calcium carbide, which is stored in this bag. I bought it for just a few euros on eBay. I opened it and this is what it looks like. I put some of it into a mortar and tried to grind it down, but it turned out to be much more difficult than expected. No matter how hard I crushed it, the pieces just didn't want to break. So I decided to replace them with smaller chunks. And after a while, I managed to break it into pieces small enough to fit into the flask. I then took the flask again and added the calcium carbide inside. For the smaller particles, I used a sheet of paper to help guide them in. On the central neck of the flask, I placed a separatory funnel filled with water, the second reagent required in addition to calcium carbide. On the last neck, I installed a connector with a stopper so that I could attach a tube to allow the produced gas to flow out. On the other end of the tube, I attached a Pasteur pipette. To the right of the reaction setup, I placed a magnetic stirrer. I took an Erlenmeyer flask and poured in pure acetone, a simple nail polish solvent. I added a magnetic stir bar, placed everything on the magnetic stirrer, and started stirring. I immersed the end of the tube with the Pasteur pipette into the acetone so that the acetylene could bubble through it. The purpose of stirring was to dissolve as much acetylene as possible into the acetone. Now it's time for the actual production. I slowly opened the valve of the separatory funnel in intervals, allowing the water to drip onto the calcium carbide as slowly as possible. This is because the reaction is exothermic, meaning it releases heat. Immediately after that, a white cloud began to form. That was acetylene being produced and then bubbling through the acetone. This is the product I obtained. I tried igniting the acetone containing acetylene, but there was no noticeable difference compared to normal acetone. In future videos, I might explore detonating acetylene mixed with oxygen. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more real chemistry explained clearly, leave a like, subscribe to Lab Project, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next experiment.